November 1st, 2024, November 1st, 2024. You can tell it's been a long week, and this is pretty much the last thing standing between me and my weekend, or at least half weekends, is this time of year because of game days being full on. To the grindstone we go. And of course, the Ravens and Broncos gearing up for week 9 of this NFL season. The Ravens return home for a 1 o'clock matchup inside the bank. And with that, welcome inside the channel. Today's live stream is brought to you by my friends at Light Toast Vodka. And as you can see in the live chat, you can also see it in the show notes below. Light Toast Vodka is a Baltimore-based, patent-pending, high-alkaline, gluten-free premium vodka with added electrolytes. You can find a store near you via lighttoastvodka.com/find Lightdose, or just ask your local liquor store. You can click on the link that I have included in the show notes and also as a pinned comment in the live chat, where you can also find today's guest line. We will open up the guest lines, get your thoughts going into week 9, whether it's Lamar Jackson after missing back-to-back practices Wednesday and Thursday for the first time in a long time. He did return triumphantly, or maybe that's hyperbolic. He returned, and so Lamar will be good to go come Sunday. And he, as he said, this was just precautionary. There was never any doubt in terms of whether or not he'd be suiting it up. Now, I know a lot of you, some of you at least, in the live chat during our Ravens Lunch Hour live stream are getting after me and Sarah for, in your words, overreacting. Well, look, we were reacting to what we had in front of us, and that was an injury report given on Wednesday and Thursday after John Harbaugh referred to the decision as rest-related, not having an NIR, not injury-related designation next to his name. It was back and knee designation. So that opened up the door for some speculation, some thought, but Lamar's good to go. So we think. So he says, and we'll find out come Sunday when the Ravens and Broncos kick off again at 1 o'clock. It's the CBS A team with Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, and Tracy Wolfson on the call. Looking forward to that one. And of course, I'll have my pregame coverage at Be More Around Town, as I always do, just around the corner from M&T Bank Stadium. For those of you who aren't familiar, at 801 West Austin Street. My pregame show will go from 11 to 12:30. Would love for you to come and check out. You can get your passes at BeMoreAroundTown.com. And of course, Sarah and I will be live as soon as the post-game press conferences finish up. So I wanted to talk a little bit about a number of things this afternoon. And again, the guest lines are open, so if you'd like to weigh in, please do. Cam Newton offered a voice of reason, I think, for the Ravens and Ravens fans to consider. I thought that it was a very calming presence that Cam gave to First Take earlier today. We'll talk a little bit about Lamar. We'll take a look at Lamar in just a second. And while I queue up that video, here it is. He said he was just resting his body. There was never a doubt he was going to play on Sunday, as Jeff noted. And the quote from LJ, just trying to get my body right, keep it fresh. Jamison Hensley of ESPN.com, one of the reporters on the scene who caught video of Lamar walking in with his quarterbacks coach, T. Martin. Beautiful fall day, as it has been all week long. A little hot for my liking on November 1st. Very windy, too. But there is LJ with Coach T. And then Ryan Mink caught him just getting some reps in. Man, those leaves, it's windy out in Owings Mills when all those leaves I feel like those trees were just at full bloom recently, are all nearly bare, or at least that first row is. But clearly Lamar's good to go. And for the Ravens, big news. Just so you know, moving forward, do not be surprised if more of these maintenance days come into play. John Harbaugh said it's possible that the Ravens rest him again in practice this season, and said you want players to be at their best on Sunday. And while the excuse that was once surrounding Lamar is no longer there, right, of essentially having to carry his offense, carry his team because of Derrick Henry, clearly still year 7 with the amount of wear and tear, with the amount that's been asked of him in recent years. If he needs maintenance days, I think we'll get him the benefit of doubt. Take your maintenance days, take your rest days. John Harbaugh said he's still well prepared, well studied going into this one in terms of the game plan. And that's the type of way you entrust your now close to be 7-year NFL quarterback who has absolutely achieved veteran status. How about this? I know he's achieved the status of being feared. And James Palmer, formerly of NFL Network, certainly reaffirmed that with this. So he 22 hours ago, he tweeted out that, for the second day in a row, Lamar showed up on the injury report as a DNP, did not practice. And then went on to say the Broncos are preparing for Lamar, talking to players in the locker room today. They believe he's going to play, but I'd be lying that there wasn't a buzz in Denver's locker room coming off the field, finding out Lamar didn't practice again. Man, if that doesn't give you a great sense for what this dude does to opponents, whether it's opposing players, opposing defensive coordinators, he is a force to be reckoned with. And your game plan will change dramatically if 8 is not out there on the field. Imagine having to trot out, with all due respect, Josh Johnson, based on what the Denver defense has put on tape this year. And they are stout in all 3 levels. They got playmaking ability in all 3 levels. We'll get to that in just a second. But clearly, Denver can't really get that breath of fresh air no longer, because 8's going to be ready to go. And as he mentioned, it was never in question. The statistics cannot be questioned. They are undeniable. Lamar, entering week 8, leads the league in the following categories: quarterback rating, touchdown to interception differential, total yards, quarterback rushing yards. He's second in passing touchdowns and yards per pass attempt. He's third in rushing yards per carry average. He's fourth in passing touchdown percentage and fifth in passing yards. And he's the only quarterback in league history with 2,000 plus passing yards and 500 plus rushing yards through the first 8 games of a season, and having done so twice. First time was in 2021, the season that he didn't finish. And right now, 2024. I mean, we can keep going and going and going. He ranks first in QB rating. And these are the actual numbers that were on that other game note that the Ravens graphic has here. Quarterback rushing yards, 501. Total yards, 2,600. Touchdown to interception differential, plus 15, and a 115.4 quarterback rating. Leads the league. And of course, for that and much more, he was named the AFC Offensive Player of the Month earlier this week after a stellar October. And as Stephen Patton put up on X here, his superpower perhaps is how efficient he is after avoiding sacks. Look at where he ranks atop the league in terms of EPA per play by a comfortable margin. I can't imagine that Anthony Richardson is very high up on this list. And as you zoom in, and I hate to single him out, I don't mean to take a shot at Anthony. Clearly, he's been a major storyline, major topic of conversation after pulling himself from a game last week and later on saying it was because he was tired. Can't imagine that went over well in the locker room, to the point where at least one of the factors that went into Shane Steichen and the organization going with Joe Flacco, the 38, 39, somewhere around there, late 30s-year-old quarterback, the grizzled veteran, who is still one of the top 32 quarterbacks in this league, will now be, for the foreseeable future, the starting quarterback in Indianapolis. But main takeaway here, Lamar's efficiency is off the charts. And the way that his durability is on the front lines is so abundantly clear after taking a sack. Just part of his greatness. Or, as Steven says, perhaps his greatest superpower of them all. The way that he's able to just sustain and maintain. And of course, a couple guys that are going to be helping him do exactly that and more are Zay and Rashad, who are off to solid complimentary seasons. And the new guy, number 18, Diontae Johnson, having been acquired earlier in the week and begun his first week as a Raven. Lamar said he's excited about Diontae. He likes how he separates, likes how good he is against man-to-man. Referred to him as a great route runner, a home run hitter. And of course, with a smile on his face, said he couldn't stand Diontae when he played for the Steelers. I know a lot of you can relate. So Diontae now is added to a wide receiver room that was, knock on wood, one injury away from certainly being thin. I get it. Probably not that big of a deal when you have a tight end room that consists of Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, and Charlie Kohler. But Diontae brings more than just wide receiver depth. He could potentially be a punt return specialist for you at some point, even though it's Tylan Wallace's job to lose, according to Chris Horton, special teams coordinator. He understands AFC North football. Obviously, as Lamar noted, and as we've talked about at length this week, he's a man beater. He can absolutely win in man coverage. He's been successful in the slot, albeit a small sample size so far this season in Carolina. A good route runner, just 28, and the Ravens got him for peanuts when it comes to NFL salary money, and really didn't have to give very much up in that pick swap when it comes to draft compensation. So again, I continue to be perplexed as to why those of you out there within the fan base are angry with this. We can be angry if 5 days from right now, when the 4 p.m. Eastern Tuesday NFL trade deadline passes, and this was the only move that came down. But until then, I think you got to give Eric DeCosta a thumbs up and hope that number 18 can be rejuvenated. Hope that his drop rate stays down and becomes a contributor in this offense where he's absolutely capable of flourishing with Lamar Jackson. Now, former NFL MVP back in 2015, former Carolina Panther, Cam Newton, who's now in the media world, has a great YouTube channel, and now he's on First Take as a contributor. I thought he offered a voice of reason for Ravens fans to consider as you move forward into Week 9, knowing that there are numerous deficiencies within this defense. They're 5-3. They're out of the gauntlet of the beginning of the year, but certainly, like any other NFL schedule, it doesn't get any easier from here on out. But I thought Cam's wisdom was something that was worth listening to today.
Concern do you have for a Ravens upset?
I don't. I look at a situation where this is a perfect indication of the same thing I just said about you can't win until you start from losing.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at the Baltimore Ravens. I keep saying it every time I come on. They're a toenail away from winning that game in Kansas City Week 1. And if we have an interception late to close the game for the Browns, they potentially win that game too. The ball is not loyal to anybody. It just goes to whoever wants it the most. The opportunities come, you have to capitalize on that. And that's all the Ravens have been doing. And sometimes it has showed when they haven't.
One thing, Essay, before you jump in, I just want to ask, having the quarterback perspective here with you, as a quarterback, how do you overcome a defense that's not living up to expectations like the Ravens?
Well, the thing that you cannot do in any situation is play the blame game, right? We have to have cohesion, continuity, play complementary football. That's what coaches would always say. When the defense is lacking, the offense picks it up. When the offense is lacking, the defense has to pick it up. And when both of them are on high power, watch out. You know what you have in the kicking game. But when I look at the Baltimore Ravens, they're a full, complete team. There's peaks and valleys in any type of NFL season, and there's times where the defense may, bail us out, or there's times where the offense may lack. But there's not anything to be worried about because every single game in this season for the Baltimore Ravens, they have played it down to the last quarter.
Well, they may have played it down to the last quarter, Cam, but they haven't played 4 complete quarters consistently. And quite honestly, they haven't come anywhere close in games like Vegas, in games like Cincinnati defensively, in games like Dallas defensively, in games like Cleveland, all 3 phases. So I appreciate the voice of reason there. And I think it's a wise way. It's a level-headed way of looking at these Ravens, given the amount of change, given the amount of turnover. that they've endured over the last year and now through 8 weeks that they're trying to mix and match and still very much obviously squarely in the postseason conversation. I think you can probably wipe the chances, barring something unforeseen, of a bye. I don't see them chasing down or really being eligible unless the Chiefs start to show, um, honestly, unless the Chiefs just come back down to earth. I don't see how the Ravens can go after that coveted number one overall seed that comes with the bye. But honestly, their priorities should be elsewhere right now. They have a big decision to make when it comes to adding talent between now and November 5th, like we've discussed with the trade deadline. They've got to get on the same page defensively. It obviously starts, in my opinion, with player execution. But as Zach Orr spoke about earlier this week, there is something to it as well from schematics, from the way in which he is getting play calls in an efficient, timely manner, and maybe dumbing down or at least scaling back. I hate using the phrase dumbing down. That infers that these guys aren't capable from a football IQ standpoint, which is not the case whatsoever. How about scale back? Scale back some of the disguise, scale back some of the pre-snap deception, because clearly I, that that's sent them into some issues from an alignment standpoint, issues from being a half step behind. How many times have you seen Roquan just a half step behind a play, or from an angling standpoint, just taking the wrong angles, which leads to big gains for tight ends, which leads to open business in the open part of the field. And so, um, while I appreciate where Cam's coming from, they got to put together 4 quarters, if you ask me. And I'm talking about all 3 phases. All 3 phases were far, far from complete on Sunday in Cleveland. You had multiple special teams penalties. One that really backed you up. Tough call on Charlie Kohler blocking the back. That just can't happen. Justin Tucker continues his struggles, hot and cold, misses from 50. Offensively, 3 drops, all of which came on third down. Defensively, we know there were 3 dropped interceptions, 2 from Eddie Jackson, 1 from Kyle Hamilton. You start to clean some of these execution things up, and I don't think we're magnifying. I don't think we're talking in detail and dissecting every aspect of Zach Orr, for example, when it comes to, is he ready or not? Is he in over his head? I see a lot of those comments. Well, what makes you think he's in over his head? Is it his age? Is it the fact that you wish that Mike McDonald would have stayed? Is it the fact that you wish they would have hired Anthony Weaver or Denard Wilson instead? Do you feel like they hired the wrong guy? Would it have been different had somebody with more experience been in Baltimore than a first-year play caller like Zach? Like, and I'm open to hearing and listening to that conversation, but you all know where I stand. And I've said it all week long. It's been a perfect storm, and there's no one person or problem that deserves all the blame. But if I'm lining it up and I'm talking priority and blame percentage, I'm starting with player execution or lack thereof. And from there, you keep the conversation moving. I would love to hear from some of you if you'd like to have this conversation on where you think the blame should be divvied up. I want more from Justin Madubuike. I get it. He's being chipped. He's being doubled, right? This guy's being taken out of the game plan. They do not want Justin Madubuike, big number 92, to become a game wrecker. And opposing offenses are doing whatever possible to ensure that doesn't happen. But he's been paid handsomely. He's been paid where he has to figure that out. I need more from number 92. The defensive line has a lot of questions right now, particularly when it comes to, remember, this is an upper echelon team when it comes to pressures and sacks. They just don't consistently, they come in bunches. They don't consistently get to the quarterback. And which resulted in Jameis Winston and Baker Mayfield, right, back-to-back weeks, just camping out in the pocket and having all day long to survey the scene. Now, it gets even more interesting here when you look at, from an interior defensive line standpoint, the injury report. And this is the final one going into the weekend. In positive news, Broderick Washington was a full participant today and does not have a game status, meaning he will be good to go. Now, Brent Urban, concussion protocol. He's out. Travis Jones, who really struggled, I thought, physically Sunday in Cleveland, he's questionable after DNPing Wednesday and Thursday and then being upgraded to limited today. As far as the back end cornerback group, good news for Marlon Humphrey and Nate Wiggins. Nate's ready to go. Couple full practices this week. Shoulder and illness designation kept him out and kept him away from traveling Sunday in Cleveland. He was limited on Wednesday, but he's going to be good to go. Marlon Humphrey was limited all week. Questionable status going in. Same with Jalen Armour-Davis. He was a DNP on Friday, though, with a knee. He's questionable. Remember, he was on IR leading into the Cleveland week for the last several weeks. Got picked on a bit. Offensively speaking, Keaton Mitchell, full participant all week long. Could this be the week where he's activated? He's got a questionable game status going in. He's in the middle of that 3-week activation window. Wait till Thursday because it's a short week. Remember, it's a quick turnaround. Ravens host the Broncos and then turn around a few days later. And in division, Cincinnati Bengals, Thursday Night Football. The alternate helmet will be worn that night, by the way. Should be pretty dope. Rasheen Ali, he's been listed game status-wise as out. 5th-round pick. Rookie running back out of Marshall. Disappointing rookie year continues for him just in terms of availability. So I would say one thing to look out for when speaking to that interior defensive line. So Broderick Washington looks like he's going to be good to go. Brent Urban is down. Travis Jones is questionable. That leaves, you would think they're probably going to try and call up at least one practice squad member to beef up that interior D-line. And so a couple options you have are Chris Wormley, Josh Tupou, who they brought in earlier in the week. I would have to think, unless a trade takes place over the weekend, which you never know with DaCosta. You know he's working the phones. Tuesday, 4 Eastern's the deadline. But I would suspect there's going to be some movement there because, look, Javonte Williams can rush the ball. Denver is a very capable rushing team. Matter of fact, I was looking at it earlier. Their rushing offense is the 14th ranked group through 8 weeks. And Bo Nix can use his legs as well, which the Ravens are going to have to certainly take into account come Sunday. As far as the Denver side of things, Zach Allen, defensive end, game wrecker. Going to have to look out for him. He'll be good to go. No real concerns here. Pat Surtain popped up with an ankle this week, but he was a full participant Wednesday through Friday. Pat is a lockdown corner for them. He is a problem. I would imagine he's going to draw the Zay Flowers assignment. But make no mistake about it, throw away from Pat Surtain. This dude is emerging as one of the top cornerbacks, if not the top cornerback in the entire league, and he was paid like it this offseason. So we'll have to see how the Ravens game plan for him. And could this be an opportunity for the tight ends to flourish? We'll get to that in just a second. John Harbaugh did mention after all the talk this week, and there was plenty of it, how about this? He quickly said in passing during his Friday press conference that Marcus Williams will indeed play on Sunday after being benched last weekend in Cleveland. So, number 32 licks his wounds, got his wrist slapped. We don't know, and we probably will never know what happened internally, assuming that something did that led to the benching. But all I know is it came really to backfire on the Ravens because you would have liked to think that had he been in on some of those situations, some of those missed opportunities that Eddie Jackson couldn't come down with, you'd be looking at a different outcome last weekend in Cleveland. So Marcus, he got up and spoke with the media as we covered yesterday. And you just hope that this sparks something. This lights a fire under his you-know-what. And he's able to get back to the playmaking, ball hawk safety that we know Marcus Williams is capable of being in this league. The Ravens need it. The back end needs it. Here are your statistical rankings through 8 weeks. It only tells the part of the story, right? But nonetheless, Ravens, of course, own the top-ranked rushing offense, top-ranked total offense, fifth-ranked passing offense, the second-ranked in terms of scoring, points per game, third and third down offense, 14th in fourth down offense, and first in red zone offense in terms of touchdown percentage. As far as the Denver defense, they are stout. Broncos have the third-ranked overall defense, letting up just over 282 yards per game. They're the seventh-ranked rushing defense, the fourth-ranked passing defense, third in points per game, just 15 allowed, 16th in third down, second on fourth down, and third in red zone defense. So you get the sense that this is going to be a good one if some of these numbers live up to the hype. As far as Denver's offense, they're the 25th overall ranked unit, 14th in rushing, 27th in passing, 20th in points per game, third and third down offense. 28th in third down offense, fifth and fourth down offense, and 14th in red zone offense. As far as the Ravens defense, well, I think we already know this. For yet another week, they're the first ranked rushing defense and 32nd ranked passing defense. Just atrocious. 25th overall, 26th in points per game, 26.1 allowed. 29th in third down defense, 18th in fourth down defense, and 19th in red zone defense. Penalties wise with the Ravens, still just not a place where you want to be. Brutal. 30th in penalties was 63, and 31 in penalty yards negated, 549. Brutal. Denver, not much better. 24th and 28th league-wide, respectively, in those categories, penalties and penalty yards. That's an area that's just inexcusable. The Ravens have to get that cleaned up. But there you have it. Predictions? I'm going 31-21 Ravens. I think they have an opportunity to exploit the way in which Denver has or has not, in this case, had success covering tight ends. I think the middle part of the field will be an area that Lamar Jackson from an intermediate passing attack can attack and have success with. If they, like I expect them to, dare Lamar to beat him through the air, we know that he has the horses to do that. We know that Zay Flowers is off to a stellar start. We know that Rashad Bateman, while two crucial drops last weekend in Cleveland, is only 2 weeks removed from a career game on a primetime Monday night in Tampa Bay. He's creating separation consistently. We know he's a reliable route runner. He's got to reel in the football consistently. And now enter Diontae Johnson, where again you have a third option excluding the tight end game. And so I think the tight ends are going to have a chance to really put their stamp on this game, keep Denver honest in the middle part of the field. And should the Broncos stack the box, load it up, and take Derrick Henry, or at least to their best ability, take Derrick Henry out of the game, the Ravens are going to be prepared, and they will be ready to beat you in other areas. Through the air, through the screen game. Give me a bubble screen on the opening drive for Zay, for Justice. Get something going that way. I love Todd Monken's bubble screens, and he has opened up the screen game through his first 2 years in Baltimore. As far as defensively, look, Bo is a mobile quarterback. Javonte Williams can tote the rock. They don't have a ton of weapons on the outside. Cortland Sutton's off to a slow start. Troy Franklin, they don't have anybody that scares you in terms of playmaking ability. But this is a team that's 5-3. And when you look at their schedule, this is a prove-it game for them. They've got wins against Carolina, New Orleans, Vegas, the Jets, and Tampa Bay. Losses have come in week 1 to Seattle, week 2 against Pittsburgh with Justin Fields, and week 6 against the Chargers. Again, those wins, no Derek Carr when they beat the Saints. We know what's going on, the dumpster fire that is, respectfully, the Carolina Panthers this year. Vegas is a disaster, even though the Ravens lost to them in week 2, which is well documented. The Jets. We know the Jets. I mean, they got a big W last night just to give a glimmer of hope to their fan base. Yet another primetime game. Stop me if you've heard that before for the New York Jets. And Tampa Bay. Probably the most legitimate win here is Tampa Bay out of their 5. And not probably, definitely. That's definitely the most legitimate win on their schedule. In other news, in other words, I think the Ravens absolutely have the potential of not only being Denver's biggest challenge yet, but unquestionably, they got a chance to kind of humble this group and say, hey, we know you're on the come up. We know you're excited about your rookie quarterback, but go take a look at John Harbaugh's career record and his track record when it comes to facing rookies. As far as defensively, I don't think the Ravens have seen a group as tough as Denver has proven to be through 8 weeks with that schedule in mind since opening night in Kansas City. This is a group that has been flying around. I'm telling you, Pat Surtain's a problem. Zach Allen has been very, very impactful. Nick Bonito, I think I saw he's had a sack in at least 6 straight games, I think was the number. Riley Moss has been playing good lockdown corner coverage for him at CB. So you've got some dogs, and you know Sean Payton's going to come ready to go. They're well coached. They're disciplined, although fumbling has been an issue for them. And you see the turnover margin where they rank 15th league-wide, not too bad. But here are some of the numbers, just as you kind of familiarize yourself with the Broncos playmaking group. Surtain's got 3 interceptions on the year. Marlon, of course, has 4 through 8 weeks, and he's only played in 7 games. Javonte Williams on the ground, 345 for 3.8 yards per carry. A little bit different in Baltimore, huh? Derek and Lamar, 6.5 and 6.2 respectively in terms of yards per carry this year. That is just absurd. Look at Roquan Smith. He ranks top 5, by the way. Top 2, I think, actually. League-wide. He's first on the Ravens by a comfortable margin, but in terms of the league lead, he's second in the league in terms of total tackles. He's been far from perfect, but 82 tackles is, and 45 of which have been solo. Way out in front. A slow start to the year for Cortland Sutton at wide receiver, but, you know, he's absolutely somebody that you got to take into account. Bo Nix protected the football for the most part, over 1,500 passing yards, 8 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. Dreams hits me with a Friday evening super chat. What's up, Dreams? Dreams says Baltimore has to win AFC games. 2 losses already. That's a good point. Yeah, I think you can wipe that number 1 seed out. It's the harsh reality there. Appreciate the super chat, my friend. The guest lines are open, by the way, if you'd like to call in and share a thought with me on this Friday evening. But for the most part, we've covered a good deal going into Sunday, including today's injury report that just came out, which begs the question, could Keaton Mitchell make his season debut for 2024? He was full participant all week long. Could this be the one? Or get yourself one more week in, and then we can revisit things with you once Thursday night on a quick turnaround comes around. Three AFC losses. Dreams. Did we do that right? Let's see. I just can't remember off the top of my head. They've lost to Vegas. They've lost to Cleveland. And they've lost to Kansas City. So 3 AFC losses. That's correct. Not a lot more room for error here, especially with how competitive this conference is proving to be this year. Oh, I guess it's a relatively slow Friday, maybe because you guys are just enjoying yourselves. November's here, post-Halloween weekend. Call lines are slow, which is fine. I'm good at chilling. I'm good to chill. I'm good to hit the road. Got a lot going on this weekend, including pregame coverage on game day at Be More Around Town from 11 to 12:30. I hope you'll join me and get your tickets at BeMoreAroundTown.com. As always, you can do the things that help out the channel for free, which are super helpful to me. Liking the video, subscribing to the channel, hitting that notification bell so you can be notified of when I'm dropping my daily live content. You can support the show and donate through Venmo or Cash App. Some of you always reach out and ask how you can do that. It's always a great way of doing it. You can join the Vault Patreon community as well. Sarah and I, of course, will be back with you for post-game coverage once press conferences finish up on Sunday. And, yeah, going to go to Annapolis, hit a winery tomorrow. Pre-game at Be More Around Town Sunday. And then post-game coverage. So I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. It's kind of nice out. Very windy. But we'll see. So enjoy your weekends. Enjoy your Friday evening. And I'll catch up with you guys over the weekend, if not before. We'll be on the lookout. You never know. A trade could potentially come down the timeline. And if it does, we'll be ready to go. Later, guys. Enjoy the night.